So if you're watching this video, it most likely means you're struggling with early extension, or you're struggling to stay down in the shot. Stay down, getting forward shaft lean, being able to release. You see all the pros in this beautiful side bend position, coming up through the ball beautifully, and it's getting a little bit frustrating. And I can definitely sympathize with this, because early on when I first started playing, I struggled hard with early extension, and whenever I got it out of my swing, it made an enormous difference in my ball striking. So what I want to do is I want to go over one of the simplest fixes I've seen for early extension that I can't tell you how many times a player has been able to eliminate, if not all of it, most of it, with just this one simple thing. And it's almost so simple that it seems a little bit silly to even do a whole video about it, but sometimes the simple things can make the biggest difference in the golf swing. So what this is going to entail is very, like I said, very simple, is the height of our setup in the backswing, or in the backswing and the downswing. So if you followed any of my videos here on Top Speed Golf, you know that I love to explain things in extremes, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and just go with the main problem that I see with players getting early extension into impact. And the main problem I see is basically we're getting into what we call an athletic setup, which is going to be bent knees, kind of in a squat, almost like we're doing a squat in the gym. And we're set up almost in a squat position. There's a lot of different variables of this, where maybe I'm leaned over a little bit more, maybe my knees are bent a little bit more, but the main issue here is we're too low. We are out of position in the setup, and the setup is one of the biggest predicators of early extension. I have maybe seen it one or two times with all of my students, whether they be in person or online, where they've set up poorly and didn't early extend. It would have to be a severe compensation, and they were definitely not good ball strikers yet. So, very important to make sure that we understand that setup is going to be the key for this simple adjustment for eliminating early extension. So by setting up in this position, what we're essentially doing is setting up very low, and we're not really leaving any more room to shallow the club head and gain a little bit of covering in transition. So covering the ball would be making sure we're getting a little bit lower in transition. So if we're already down here, the only place for us to really go is up in the swing, and this is the most common thing I see, that athletic stance setup and then coming up through the shot. So I'll see if I can do one here. It is almost intuitive when I'm set up incorrectly to stand up through the shot. So I can kind of square it up, and again, remember, I probably hit that one pretty straight because I used to do this all the time and I figured out how to time it up, but I can tell you, you get under any kind of pressure, if you're not having a good day, this just completely ruins the entire experience of being out on the golf course, because when you're early extending, any miss can happen, and if you're anything like me, the snap hook is a huge one. So what we're going to do is explain this in extremes. If I am standing straight up and down, just as tall as I can stand, let's just say I set up as tall as I can, like if I was just standing straight up and down waiting in line or anything like that, just standing up as tall as I possibly can. If you're going to see, again, this is a very extreme example. I can only stand up so tall until I can reach the ball. So this is as tall as I can stand up. So I can guarantee you I'm not going to early extend in this swing because I don't have anywhere to extend to. I've taken all of the variables out of this. So I'm going to go ahead and make a swing here. This feels very, very difficult. But again, I'm going to get as straight up and down as I can, and we're going to make a swing. So you can see there that I actually had to lower to go down and hit that ball. Very, very weird thing. But like I said, extreme examples are sometimes the easiest to see. Now, the other example, as you can probably guess, is if I got down as low as I possibly can. If I'm going to try to actually hit this shot well, I'm going to have to do something in order to get this club head on the ball, and that's most likely going to be to try to early extend. So obviously that wasn't good. It's a very difficult thing, but as you can see from the extremes, when I was taller, it led me to get down into my shot, stay down through the shot. Very, very important. And again, this is a very simple fix because all we really have to do is change our setup in order to give ourselves the chance to eliminate this early extension. So one of the best things that we can do is when we're setting up, we learn how to hinge over from our hips correctly, which would be just making sure that our legs are going to feel like they're almost straight up and down. So what I have players do is I have them stand with their legs straight up and down, and I have them lock their knees completely out. Then from there, we barely relax the knees. This is going to be really nice, tall legs. From here, my legs don't change at all, and I'm going to hinge over just slightly till my shoulders are going to be just over my toes. This is just kind of a general rule of thumb for the setup. Now, if I can stay here, this is going to give me a nice, tall, neutral setup. Now, when I go into the top of the swing, if I can maintain my height here, then it's going to be a lot more intuitive for me to go down and into the shot. So let me go ahead. I'm going to lock my knees straight out, barely relax them, lean over just a little bit. Now I'm in a nice tall-legged setup, and I'm nice and away from the ball, so now I have the ability to not early extend in the shot. So not hit perfectly, but definitely not too bad. I kind of threw off my face control a little bit there doing those other demonstrations, but 200 total distance with the 7-iron is not too bad, especially since we didn't early extend. That's another thing with not early extending. You can get so much more energy into the ball. So if we have this basic understanding of saying, hey, I get taller in my setup, I'm going to at least leave room for myself not to early extend, but if I get low in my setup, the only thing I'm going to want to do most of the time is early extend so that I can create some room to hit this shot. So what we want to do is get into that really, really nice setup position, get comfortable with that, and almost even feel like we're lowering a little bit in transition so that we can start eliminating that early extension. So there we go. I left myself enough room. Not a bad shot. Little push draw. Came back towards my target. Exactly what we want to make sure we're doing this. Now, this simple fix to eliminate early extension is basically just the first big piece. This is what we have to start with if we want to start eliminating that dreaded move. The second piece is making sure we understand how to shallow the club out and get forward shaft lean at impact. In order to get forward shaft lean, we have to square up the club correctly. So there's a couple things here. If I'm going to eliminate my early extension, if I lean the shaft forward, I have to be lower in order to do so. So if I early extend, that shaft's going to want to stand up on me, and I'm not going to be in position to stay down through the shot. So it's vitally important to make sure we shallow the club out, square it up so that we can have forward shaft lean from the setup position that allows us to lower. So if we can get that second piece, which would be shallow and square, so that we can stay down through the shot, now we have the two-step recipe to eliminate this early extension. Now, to get this club to shallow out and square up, I'm going to have our owner and head instructor, Clay Ballard, go over the anti-roll method with you in the next video. So we're going to play a preview of that lesson at the end of this video that you can see that whole lesson by clicking on the iCard that pops up in the preview. If you don't see that iCard, that's fine. It'll be in the link in the description below. And he's going to go over exactly the correct method to shallow this club out and square it up. But make sure to pair that up with that nice tall setup so that you have room to not early extend. All right, we'll see you here in the anti-roll method.
So here's the bottom line. If you've been taught to roll the club in the early downswing, that causes the shaft to get steep. And that steep club causes all your problems. It causes you to hit it way behind the big hitters and way inconsistent with your quality of strike. So you're in the tall grass and the trees and the hazards all day long. Now the great news is this. There's really only two pieces that you need to know to fix all these problems. The first one is we need to learn the proper way to square up the club face. Instead of rolling the forearms and getting steep, there's another way that the pros do this. Once you learn this right way to square up the club face, then you can shallow out from the inside and everything starts to fit together. Now I'm going to teach you this right now in what I call the anti-roll method. You may also hear this called the motorcycle move or the tour twist, but let's walk through exactly how to do that. Now what I want you to do is go ahead and go kind of in the last parallel in the downswing. So here, I want my hips to go ahead and be opening up. I want my club to be parallel with the ground, and I want my hands to be in front of my right thigh. Now, when I take my grip, you're going to notice that when I do this, the club face is basically straight up and down. So if I'm looking at it from this angle, you'll see the face is straight up and down, and my logo of my glove is pointed out in front of me. Now from there,